When I bought the small brick house on Sycamore Lane, I thought I'd finally found peace. 23 years working undercover for Homeland Security had shredded my nerves, and retirement was supposed to be my clean break. The house wasn't large, but it had an oak tree shading the yard and a two-car garage where I could tinker with my restored 1968 Mustang. The neighborhood looked quiet, safe. Kids rode bicycles on the cul-de-sac. Sprinklers ticked across manicured lawns, and for once in my life I thought I could live like an ordinary man instead of a ghost, chasing shadows across the country. I met the HOA president on my second evening there. Her name was Judith Palmer, a thin woman in her 60s who wore pearls with her polo shirts and carried a binder that looked heavier than she was. She smiled with the sort of precision you see in campaign ads, her lips barely touching her teeth, her eyes sharp as needles. "Mr. Hayes, welcome to Willow Ridge," she said. "I'm Judith, president of the Homeowners Association. We like to keep our community tidy, safe, and most importantly, uniform. I trust you received the bylaws packet." I told her I hadn't. She flipped open her binder and produced a copy like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat. 36 pages of regulations, from acceptable paint shades to the height of hedges. I skimmed the first few lines and realized this wasn't just about landscaping. It was about control. She nodded at my Mustang parked in the driveway. Beautiful car. But classic vehicles often create expectations. Sometimes they clash with the aesthetic of our neighborhood. It was the first time anyone had made me feel guilty for owning something I'd bled over, bolt by bolt. Within 72 hours, a notice appeared in my mailbox. Violation, unapproved vehicle. Fine, $400. I almost laughed. They were fining me for having a car that looked too different from the endless parade of silver SUVs lining the street. But Judith wasn't laughing. She was watching from her porch, coffee mug in hand, as if daring me to resist. I told myself to let it slide. After years of facing cartel enforcers and domestic extremists, surely I could handle a suburban busybody. But Judith escalated with the precision of a chess player. The next week, I came out to find my trash bins overturned with a violation slip taped to one. Improper placement. The week after, she reported me for excessive noise because my garage door squeaked when I opened it before 7 a.m. She even filed a complaint that my porch light bulb was too bright, creating light pollution. Each fine came with a smile across the street, as if she were measuring how far she could push me before I snapped. The neighbors noticed. At first they waved, friendly enough. But once Judith began her campaign, those waves turned into quick nods, then nothing at all. I caught curtains twitching when I walked to the mailbox. The family next door stopped letting their kids ride bikes past my house. It was the kind of slow isolation I'd seen intelligence targets use. Alienate the mark, make him vulnerable, destroy his credibility. Then it got personal. My daughter, Rachel, called one evening. She's an ER nurse in Denver. Tough as nails, but her voice trebled over the phone. "Dad, people are saying things about you online, that you're under investigation, that the HOA filed complaints about suspicious activity. My coworkers are asking if you're in trouble." My gut twisted. I knew immediately who was behind it. Judith wasn't just harassing me with fines. She was poisoning the well, spreading whispers that made me look like a criminal. And my daughter, my one anchor in this world, was starting to believe the narrative. "Rachel, it's lies. Just neighborhood politics," I said. "Don't let it get to you." But she sounded unconvinced. "Maybe you should just follow the rules, Dad. Sell the car, keep quiet." "People already think you're different." That cut deeper than anything Judith had done. My own child questioning me, ashamed of me. I'd stared down cartel hitmen without flinching, but hearing that crack in Rachel's voice nearly broke me. The final straw came at the community meeting. Judith had summoned the entire block to the clubhouse. I walked in to find photos of my house pinned to poster boards, my Mustang blown up on a projector screen like evidence in a trial. She stood at the podium, binder open, reciting a list of alleged violations. Noise, suspicious visitors, possible zoning infractions. "He has consistently disregarded our community standards," she declared, "and his behavior suggests potential illegal activity. We must protect our neighborhood's integrity." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. People I'd waved to, helped carry groceries for, now avoided my gaze. When she called for a vote to impose special measures, 30 hands rose. Only 2 abstained. None opposed. I felt the same chill I'd known undercover when a target group turned hostile and the room went from tense to lethal. Only this time, it was my neighbors. That night, parked across from my house, I saw Judith meet 2 men in a black van. They unloaded uniforms, police uniforms. She handed them a thick envelope and pointed at my driveway. My training told me exactly what I was looking at. A staged operation. She was hiring imposters to make me look like I'd been raided by law enforcement. I could have blown my cover then, called the county sheriff, flashed my old credentials. But I'd learned patience. Let the enemy expose themselves fully before you strike. So I waited. 2 days later they came. 3 men in crisp police outfits, badges gleaming, a tow truck idling behind them. They knocked on my door with the authority of people used to immediate compliance. "Mr. Hayes," the lead one barked, "we're here to seize your vehicle in connection with federal tax violations." "Hand over the keys." I let my hands shake, voice uncertain. "There must be some mistake. Can I see the warrant?" He shoved a stack of papers at me, heavy with seals and signatures, convincing enough for the average person, but I knew the tells. Wrong case format, incorrect division, sloppy forgeries dressed up with legal jargon. From across the street, Judith stood in her yard, clutching her binder like scripture, eyes wide with triumph. She'd assembled the whole neighborhood to watch my humiliation. Curtains shifted, phones recorded. The imposter grew impatient. "Keys, now, or we arrest you for obstruction." I stepped back, forcing fear into my tone. "Please, I don't want trouble." Then I paused, dropped the act, and let 20 years of muscle memory take over. I caught his wrist before he could grab me. My voice dropped to the calm register that made criminals freeze. "You sure you want to put your hands on me, officer?" His eyes flickered. He knew something had shifted. I reached into my jacket, slowly, deliberately. Instead of keys, I pulled out the leather wallet that held my badge. Not retired, still active under special contract. Department of Homeland Security Investigations Division. My name is Special Agent Daniel Hayes, and you've just committed federal crimes, impersonating officers, conspiracy, attempted intimidation of a federal agent. Gasps echoed across the street. The imposters froze, panic creeping into their faces as unmarked SUVs rolled into the cul-de-sac. Real agents in tactical gear poured out, weapons drawn, commands sharp and precise. Within minutes, the 3 fake cops were zip-tied on my driveway, their forged badges bagged as evidence. And Judith? She tried to protest, waving her binder like it was a shield. "You can't do this. They were legitimate officers. He's dangerous. He doesn't belong here." But an FBI agent stepped forward, badge flashing in the afternoon sun. "Judith Palmer, you are under arrest for conspiracy to impersonate federal officers, harassment, and witness intimidation." The sound of handcuffs closing on her wrists was the sweetest music I'd ever heard. The neighborhood was silent, except for the agents reading rights and neighbors whispering in disbelief. Mrs. Callahan, who'd once brought me pie when I moved in, covered her mouth like she might faint. The couple with the Labrador looked at me with the shame of people realizing they'd been complicit by silence. My daughter arrived just in time to see Judith shoved into the back of a federal SUV. She ran up, eyes wide. "Dad, oh my God, those are real agents." I nodded. "I told you, Rachel, it was all lies, and she just built the case against herself." Tears welled in her eyes as she hugged me, tighter than she had in years. "I'm sorry I doubted you." Judith's arrest made the local news within hours. HOA president charged in federal impersonation scheme. Her mugshot splashed across the screen, pearls replaced by the orange of a county jumpsuit. The story spread fast, a cautionary tale of suburban power gone criminal. At her trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Recordings of her meetings with the imposters, bank records, testimony from neighbors who finally admitted they'd been pressured into silence. She was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison, barred from ever serving in any HOA role again. Willow Ridge changed after that. The new HOA president, a soft-spoken Navy veteran named Thompson, repealed half the ridiculous bylaws. People started talking to me again, sheepish but sincere. The Richardsons even brought over their Labrador for me to meet, apologizing for months of avoidance. But the biggest change was Rachel. Watching me stand firm against Judith's campaign of intimidation gave her a new respect, maybe even pride.
One night she said, "I've been thinking about applying to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center.
Maybe I want to do what you did, protect people from bullies who think authority gives them the right to ruin lives." I smiled, heart swelling in a way no courtroom victory ever gave me. "You'd be good at it, kiddo. Better than me." Now, months later, when I sit on my porch, watching the sunset glint off the Mustang's polished hood, I sometimes catch neighbors glancing at me with a mix of awe and guilt. They know how close they came to being accomplices in something far worse than HOA drama. And I know this: bullies like Judith always underestimate the quiet ones. They mistake calm for weakness, patience for surrender. They think their small authority is a shield. But sooner or later, they push the wrong person too far. In Willow Ridge, that person was me.